What's your railway, Ross? What's your railway order? Is that the order?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Oh, well, they.
What's that?
No, well, they.
Yeah. Very humble.
Jules, yep. Oh, you throw money at me, thank you. Yes, I do. Probably get it maybe.
So if you're a busy person,
You choose which one?
Everybody's dollars? Everybody's dollars?
you're looking at ticket.
You're not getting tickets.
Not yet.
Did you not listen? Did you not?
Yeah, I was listening. Yeah,
Well, obviously
I'm
not.
waiting for the tickets.
I'm doing the, Dad,
She couldn't get
you're
there.
in the draw.
And you trust this bloke to be your operation?
I'm in the draw. I'm doing them.
You're doing the
Who's got two $1 question money has? I've got some Tony
I think
has.
it's Jules got heaps of change.
I know. I changed
Hey, hang on.
$20 for
I
all
got a
five.
bit of change.
Why did you give me two $2 coins?
I gave you one. Took
Yeah,
two
you
ones.
do there.
Took two ones. Oh, well,
Is it the same as one?
thanks for being honest.
Well, it's better
Well, I'm
to
honest,
have
eh?
that as a treasurer now than Kathy can't count.
Right, the raffle's ready. Thank you.
Where's my ticket?
That's it. I'm not even going to.
Name's in the bag.
You're in the bag.
That's fine, you won't win anyway. It's a donation,
Is
that's
it rigged, is it? We're worried now it's gonna win.
Righto.
Couldn't call them in, would you?
No, don't.
Okay. No, I'll let Doug have his moment.
Get all the bells.
Hedge moment.
Thank you.
right.
Now it's, oh, it works when it feels like it. Welcome everybody. We have some apologies. So David Madison, Joan Madison, Rosalie, Pauline Hogg, Jim Hodgins, who was coming but is ill today. Any others?
Oh, Les Rush.
Oh, Les.
Les, AJ,
AJ.
and Ian Fletcher.
Yes. You need to put Ian on there permanently for a bit. Yep. And our guests, we welcome Ross Bingham. I'll introduce Ross to us later. Scott McCullum. Welcome, Scott. And Jill Parsons. Lions lady, Charter Lions lady Jill Parsons. Alrighty, we'll do the loyal toast. Okay, I'll do the loyal toast today. Alright, everybody upstanding? Well, you're not yet.
No, we are upset.
Oh, well, we are outstanding as well. Alright. To King and Country.
Australia.
After three. 1, 2, 3.
Australians, all let us rejoice, for we are young and free. With golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gift of beauty rich and rare. In history's page let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Well done.
We're only doing the first.
And it's 1 and 3.
I did highlight that in the bulletin, did you notice that?
I did you not, Barry? I remember.
No, I did highlight that. Tony's got that in the in the bulletin, and the ones that I printed off, I actually highlighted it, where they've changed that one word, and they did that in 2020. Just a bit of trivia for you all. Just, I know it's hard. I know it's foul cultures like us that it's like, can't do that after all this time. So did I. I was very good.
I shouldn't know them.
That's probably best time.
No.
With my boys.
All right. Can I have an ethic, please?
Oh, can I do one?
Thank you, Lion Stewart. You can.
What's this?
To remember that in building up my own business, it is not necessary to tear down another's, to be loyal to my clients or customers and be true to myself. To me, that just emphasises the need for us to work as a team, not just within our club, but with other clubs, Lions clubs, and also other service organisations as well, and the community in general. Ta.
Thank you. That's why I like just picking one, because that means something to somebody.
I don't need that. I think everyone can hear it. It's a small room. Yeah, that's right. I'm going to do the purpose, to promote the principles of good government and good citizenship.
So what should I do?
Be a good citizen, contribute when you can. Yeah. Very good.
Right, today we met and celebrated the life of Barbara Humphries. And we were very saddened to hear of her passing. She was a lovely lady, well respected within our club, the Lioness Club of Rutherford, our cabinet. She has been a great supporter of our Lions Club. Over the last 50 years, Barb was the wife of our charter president, Bruce Humphries, as the club was formed in 1974 and served the local community through Lions Ladies that were active in most Lions clubs during those years. Barbara also served alongside Bruce during his term as District Governor of N3 in 1988 and 89, and many years leading the MD 201 Year project nationally. After past District Governor Bruce passed away in 2008, Barb joined the Rutherford Lioness Club to continue her association with Lions International and continue to attend and support our club. So Barb was the actual one of the charter members of that club. She regularly attended both our social meetings and many of our changeover celebrations, including coming along to help us celebrate our 50th anniversary in December last year. Thank you, Barb, for your many years of service and all the great memories that go with it. Bail Barbara Humphries. Can we call on a minute's silence? Thank you, everybody. Righto. Secretary's report, please.
Just, I better start with a motion that the minutes of the dinner meeting held on the 5th of March, as circulated, be accepted as a true and accurate record. Seeing as how I wasn't there, thank you, Mo, for doing that for me. I better get a mover and a seconder for that, because I wasn't there. Alison? Cool. Okay. Business arising from the minutes. Yeah, we did it all. Okay. So, incoming new business. I circulated the Australian Lions Foundation March newsletter. They've updated their logo to a blue and white rather than the 3 colours I think it is. The symbol still looks the same. they also sent a request to donate to disaster relief recycling Alfred. So there's a ALF disaster relief fund. So when something like that happens, they just start giving money, and then hopefully the public or Lions Clubs then pop that account up for the next time. So that is there to discuss in general business.
Yes.
I've got a request for reimbursement from Ashley for decorations for the 50th celebration that she's forgotten about since December. Apparently been busy, so Doug's paid that today or something, yesterday. Our Coffee House flyer email received as circulated by CAB Secretary to the district mailing list, Tony, so we did do the rounds of all the clubs. Doug forwarded on a Eat Up Australia project report summary for 2024, so I can leave that until he does his report. Over. We'll do that. And the other one is just the Maitland City Council invitation to run the barbecue on Sunday the 13th April at the Show and Shine for Steamfest. And put a note there, as Kathy did, will be low on barbecue helpers, so may need to pay site fees. As they usually exempt us from site fees because we supply them with volunteers, and we're basically going, I don't think we can supply them with volunteers. And the reason for that is because I'm going to be absent on holidays in Tasmania at that time, so I'll miss the next meeting and Steamfest, barbecue and stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
No, fancy going on holidays.
Yeah,
It's just so rude. Like, well, even as in the work.
It's not the only one.
Huh?
It's not the only one.
Not the only holiday, or?
So,
Yeah. Not
so
the
when he comes back, I go.
Yeah.
Treasurer's report, please, Doug. That's what happens when you get old and you get more service leave. When you're tired. Push it away.
Okay, wow. This is a part month report, so it's as at the March 18th for month's meeting, which was the month. So there's a couple of things that have happened since we did this report. Mainly transfers. For the events that we had, the funds were deposited into the admin account, and I've transferred them out of the admin account into the activities account because of the costs associated with those events. So, just as a refresher, there was the Australia Day barbecue, which we received $3,396, which $1,000 was a donation. And what's another one here? Maitland City Council, the 100 Bloody Floods, received $1,667, of which $500 was a donation.
But that also included the,
Drinks and stuff.
no, the barbecue ban and that ban.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And average donation ended up with $1,000, and the costs were $3,900 approximately. We're quite busy in the beginning of this year. So, we've got the balance now in the admin account is looking more to what it should look like. Balance in the admin account is $6,736.88, and the balance in the activities account is $31,537.08. And we still have $5,000 in the admin account. I move that be agreed and passed.
Very good.
That's it.
Those in
I do
favour?
have EDUP to talk about later, but that's
Yep.
the way.
Those in favour? Yep. Yep. And there's no one against, because I said. Right,
Is
so
anybody again? Is anybody again?
no.
No, it's okay. Won't say that.
We have a guest speaker tonight. We're going to welcome Ross Bingham. Ross is the Chief Executive Officer of Ronald McDonald House, Northern New South Wales for Charities. Ross was born and bred and passionate about improving in Newcastle. He's passionate about improving the world for kids. At 18, he started a part-time job at McDonald's, whilst he thought he was going to have a gap year before starting university. By the end of the year, McDonald's had offered him a traineeship as McDonald's manager. He worked for a licensee for the next 17 years from running several McDonald's restaurants in Newcastle as a manager, as well as doing some marketing for those restaurants. During this time with McDonald, he assisted in raising quite a lot of money to build the Ronald McDonald House at John Humbert Children's Hospital. He was there for the first sod turning and again in 1991 on the opening day. And at the very start was part of the volunteer force of that house. Ross has been doing a 500-kilometre ride for sick kids since it started. So last year he completed his 20th ride in October.
Yeah,
So he's looking to do his 21st run this year. So we welcome Ross to our meeting.
Thank you. How long have I got?
As long as you like.
Okay. Will the thing work on?
Yes?
Yeah.
How do we get that to work? Oh, here, they've given us a little, look at that, already.
Fantastic. Thank you.
There we go. Wonderful, listen. Will you need the microphone? No. I hope I got all that right anyway.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. It's a very warm welcome. Thank you very much. And I'll just grab it away.
Mouse?
Yeah, it's just the touchpad's not working. That's good. I just want to say, firstly, a massive thank you to all of you. Back in 1999 or so, the Room 1 at Ronald McDonald House got sponsorship, and from East Maitland Lions Club, and you're one of the first sponsors on board. It was a new thing for us at the time to sponsor our rooms and raise a bit of money on the side, which was part of why I ended up in the role that I did, because there was a need to raise funds to run the Ronald McDonald House at Newcastle and to then expand it and to do more down the track. So the idea of having people sponsor the rooms was a new thing, and you were one of the first ones on board, and still are now. So it's quite incredible, your contribution to the house over that long period of time. In that room, around about 30 to 40 different families stay every year. So it's well used from a variety of different places around the state of New South Wales, and I'll cover a bit of that information with you now. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them as we go. I've put this slide up here. It's part of our wrap at Ronald McDonald House, New South Wales. We had this design done for us by Soretta, who's a well-known Aboriginal artist. And this actually tells the story of Ronald McDonald House, where the stones of the journey a family takes through the illness of their child. This represents the house itself and also the family rooms that we have at the Ronald McDonald House. We have a retreat, and this is like a fun activity for the retreat. And this one down here is elders and education. So we have an education program as well, where we can support children to get behind in their schooling. And this is the representation of the families themselves on the journey. So it's sort of, it's on our shirts, and it sort of represents Ronald McDonald House in an Indigenous manner. So I'm very, very proud of that. I'll skip through that. I want to tell you the story of Brian and Brogan and his daughter Avery and son Brian Jr. You can see them in the picture over there. They're actually from Narrabri. They arrived in November last year, and I met them just about 4 weeks ago. We sat down and had a bit of a chat, and he was telling me the story of Avery's situation, where she has got a hole in her skull that wasn't healing, and she had a high temperature, and there was some things going on in Narrabri, and they found that there was they weren't sure what was wrong with her, and this is how families tend to end up at Ronald McDonald House, they get sent to the John Hunter Children's Hospital. When he found out they were coming to the John Hunter Children's Hospital, he jumped online, found a B&B, a local B&B, started heading down. They didn't know how long they were going to be. When they had the first diagnosis of Avery, they said they were going to have to treat it like a cancer illness, so that she'd go on some sort of chemotherapy. It did start to work and has worked quite well, but you can see that they were there from November and they're probably going to go home in the next couple of weeks, which is fantastic. But his story was, for me, particularly telling about what we can do for families when they come from a distance. He was stressing coming down and finding the B&B where it was. He was already thinking about, was he going to have to sell his car? Would he be able to keep his job? What about his wife and baby staying down here? Is the B&B going to be a safe place? Because he wasn't going to be able to stay there. He was probably going to have to go back to Narrabri on and off. So he was very stressed about the whole financial cost of this whole, apart from the fact that his daughter was in a serious situation. After 2 days, they were able to get into the Ronald McDonald House where they'd been since that time. The change, he said immediately they walked into the Ronald McDonald House and they settled in. The worries about the financial cost went away, the safety and the security for his wife and his child, the fact that they could be around and be nearby and could walk. They didn't have to drive from the B&B up, but they could walk just across to the hospital, took a big load off their mind. That he took his son, takes his son back to Narrabri where he goes to school for 3 weeks out of every 4 weeks. So they go home for 3 weeks and come back for a week while his wife and Avery stay at the house. To have that continuity of having the closeness nearby the hospital, but then the other families that have gone through similar situations already that can help them out was a big plus and a big advantage for them. And he couldn't be more comfortable or happy at the time, which was still 4 weeks ago, so there was still 6 weeks to go for them, that things were starting to look well. And the difference that we can make for a family, just lifting that worry off, is incredible, and that's happening for all 18 families that are down there just about every night of the year. We have a mission and vision. Because I haven't been here for a little while, I thought I'd run through these things with you. I know I've spoken to a lot of you at different times. But our mission is we provide essential services that remove barriers, strengthen families and promote healing when children need health care. And our vision is a world where every family has what they need to ensure the best health outcomes for their child. They're big, bold vision, but it's something that we believe is achievable. We are a worldwide charity, so we're in 46 different countries across the world. And in Australia, we have a Ronald McDonald House in every major children's hospital around Australia. So, and then we have a regional Ronald McDonald House at Tamworth, Wagga, Orange, supporting those families in those large regional hospitals that aren't major children's hospitals. So we're here for families so they can be there for theirs. We keep families together when life gets turned upside down due to a child's illness or injury. This is our chapter. So when I started there in 1996, the Ronald McDonald House at Newcastle just had 8 rooms, and now has 18. We also opened the house in Tamworth with five units. And it's in the Tamworth Base Hospital ground, so you can walk to and from the hospital quite easily, just the same as at the John Hunter. We have the learning program supporting about 120 students that are got behind in their schooling because of their serious illness. We also have an ed liaison person in the hospital that supports families that get a new diagnosis of a cancer illness or any other serious illness, and there's the potential for them to be able to miss out on some education or opportunities where there might be grants or ways of helping them reintegrate back into school. So one of our learning program coordinators actually meets with those families and talks about their situation opportunities that might be available, and we'll even go to the hospital, to the school and advocate on behalf of the child, because schools don't, whilst they're great educational facilities, they don't really understand a child going through an illness and that it's not going to be caught by another child, or that they won't have to change too many things to adapt to allow the child to come back into the classroom. So sometimes there's a big concern about a sick child coming back to the school for a period of time, and how do they sort that out. We also have even robots that sit in the classroom watching the class happening, so that the child that's in hospital can actually still stay part of the actual school class that they're in, whilst they've got an illness and they're out of school. This is our family retreat. We have 4 cabins up at Foster, where families can have a holiday at no charge. We opened those in 2006. About 130 families a year have a holiday there. This is our family room at John Hunter Children's Hospital, our family room inside the neonatal intensive care unit at John Hunter Children's Hospital, and our family room down at the Gosford Hospital. And those family rooms see about 20,000 families through the doors across 12 months. So significant impact on local families as well as families from a distance that we support at the Ronald McDonald House. Any questions?
So the family room at Gosford, is that, they don't have a Ronald McDonald House there though?
No.
No, they just have a family room.
That's right. So,
so would you be looking to put one here at our hospital?
so you don't need a Ronald McDonald House because your main children's hospital is still John Hunter.
Even
The family room we would have loved to have had
Yep.
in the Maitland Hospital, but we weren't able to. In the end, the way they designed the new Maitland Hospital was 3 different levels for children's services. So you had maternity on one, children's on another, and I think you tend to like the other surgery or whatever services on another. So a family room would have been not utilised as well as it needed to be. But we had every intention of actually putting a Ronald McDonald family room at the Maitland Hospital. As it ended up, we weren't able to get the approvals because of the numbers. So unfortunately missed out. But that was a goal that we had set back when the Maitland Hospital was being designed. And very tricky, a bit annoying from my end of it because it was something we really wanted to do.
No, that's just,
What's the age limit on the kids?
18.
18.
Yeah, so a child up to age 18 staying at the house, or if you've got a child patient in hospital up to age 18, you can use the family rooms.
Do you get people coming in that are in the night pool, just young babies for a week or 2 and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So this actual family room is actually inside of the neonatal intensive care unit, and that intensive care unit has about 46 beds, so it's a huge, even though it's small, it's a huge ward. And so the families have their own particular family room inside the ward that no one else can access other than the families from that ward. So when that NICU was built, the new one, it was new 2017, I think, and they asked us if we'd have a family room, if we'd provide a family room in that space. So that's been running in about, I think about 7,000 or 8,000 families in and out of that room last year. About 8 visits on average per family. So
is there a way that we visit that sort of thing?
it's not going to be on the immediate agenda, but who knows down the track. The criteria that came into play around the number of the size of the ward that you needed to have for a family room to be able to be usable in a hospital came out around the same time as we were developing it. So it's in the meantime, and the other thing was the stats for this space, which sounds ridiculous, but we couldn't get government stats on increasing children across this area to support growth, which sounds ridiculous.
Because it's a big area.
It is a big area, and it's just growing on and on and on, you know.
I mean, we've been discussing this a little bit off and on, and, you know, what we can do to support, like the local hospital, and I mean, there's lots of service clubs that would be only too happy to support something happening at our local hospital. So,
It's,
just a bit of food for thought.
yes, believe me, it's on our, when we had our strategic planning meeting last year, in October, the Maitland Hospital, we've still got it on the agenda, so we're still chasing it.
There's lots of service clubs around that.
Absolutely.
Are you only affiliated with public hospitals?
No. Well, we support a sick child in any hospital. We're based at public because that's where most of the children come to. The same at Westmead and at Prince of Wales in Sydney. But we'll support, if there's a sick child staying at a private hospital, they could still stay at
Okay,
the
so
Ronald McDonald House.
you don't necessarily have to be at, say, John Hunter to stay there.
No.
Right.
And what year did the Tamworth Ronald
Tamworth?
McDonald House start?
2008.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's been there for...
So they look after like kids on farms out at Armidale and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so that still happens at John Hunter.
Yeah.
Those seriously ill kids end up at John Hunter. But if you think of Tamworth-based hospital as the, well, say it's something like Maitland Hospital, it's a fairly large, it's a large regional hospital. So for everything doesn't need specialist care, you could go to Tamworth. You don't have to come to John Hunter. But as soon as it goes to the next level, where you need particular surgical services or cancer-related illness or neonatal or intensive care.
So what about something like cystic fibrosis?
Cystic fibrosis, generally, well, it can be handled at a local hospital level, but serious cases end up at John Hunter, and we have quite a few cystic fibrosis families come and stay at Ronald McDonald House. So
Yeah.
they travel distances.
One of my friend's daughters was from cystic fibrosis. I knew her from birth, and she was there nearly every couple of months. From Armidale, actually from Walker.
Oh, yeah.
And
A young boy or a young girl?
girl.
Okay.
And sadly, just after her 18th birthday, just as she was about to have a heart-lung transplant, she died.
Okay.
So, but she lasted 18 years.
Yeah. Cystic fibrosis. Yeah.
I mean, you might live to 30 if you're lucky.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I've got some friends, and we've had people come to Ronald McDonald House actually that their life expectancy at the start was like 6 or 7, and then when they got to around 5, 6, it was 10, 11, 12, and then when they got to around 12, it was some were living to 20, and then when they got to 20, it was now living to 30, and then now they've actually been able to get married, they've had kids, and they're still with us, and they're getting close to 40. And one of them's been on a trial drug, and the trial drug's been extremely great. And the other one wasn't able to be on it, and he was going downhill. But he's now on it, and he's improved. So there's wins like that happening all the time in the medical world, and the CF is a difficult. We had another young boy from Walker, actually, that used to come to Ronald McDonald House right the way through.
I had a girlfriend that I've got a girlfriend, and her nephew, he passed away now a number of years ago, but from the time he was 8 till he was actually over 18, but they still, because he'd been going to Ronald McDonald House for that long, that he was 19 when he passed away. When they came down, they were even at the end there. First name basis with the guys in the helicopter. Or the, the plane. It's very sad, but long time to live with.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's thankfully most of the stories we have at the house are good stories. The child gets to go home and go on to do. And probably one of the biggest joys for me is having one of those one of those kids come back when they're like 20 to 30 years of age to see the house and say good day and drop in and just catch up because they spent so much time there. And grateful for the support that we're able to give. So, yeah, no, thank you.
So what does a room, sorry,
Yes,
keep
yes.
asking questions. What does a room entail? Is it a self-contained like unit with a kitchen and kitchenette and everything in it? Or is it shared facilities and it's just like bedrooms in your area sort of thing?
Yeah, so interestingly, in 1991 when we built the Newcastle house, at the time the Ronald McDonald houses had rooms with bathrooms down the hall. So they had a whole lot of rooms with beds and bathrooms were down the hall. When we built our Ronald McDonald house in the late 80s and opened in 91, we had a community representative on our board, who had had a sick child who had passed away at age 15. She demanded that they had bedrooms with en suites. So that's obviously a lot more cost because you've got a bathroom in every bedroom. But we fought for that and raised the funds, and we built our Ronald McDonald House with bathrooms in every room. At the same time, the Prince of Wales Children's Hospital opened the Ronald McDonald House down there, and they had a hallway with a bathroom down the end. So that was a significant thing because after that, the Ronald McDonald Houses pretty much all had en suites in their bedrooms. Now in around 2000, 2001, the John Hunter Children's Hospital added an oncologist to the hospital. It's hard to get an oncologist to come to Newcastle because they like to go into major ones where they can do a lot of research. We got a guy from Adelaide come to Newcastle, and that meant we could now treat children's cancer at the John Hunter. What that did to Ronald McDonald House was we now had children coming to the house who had a cancer diagnosis who needed to be isolated for periods of time. So we actually added an extension of 6 units on at the time, back in 2006, which were self-contained. So they've got their own kitchen, they've got their own laundry, and they've got, well at the time it was unusual, we had a TV and everything in the room, which we've now got TVs in every room because, you know, you need to have that, you know, like, but anyway, those rooms, those 6 units were developed so that children that were going to need isolation could be isolated in their room and family could look after them. And that wouldn't work very well in like a hotel room. So that was the next 6 units. Now the next development, which I'll show you in shortly, we're adding another 11 units to the Newcastle house because we've managed to shovel some money aside a little bit, and we're going out in a capital campaign to raise money to raise $8 million to build these 11 units on, and those units are all going to be self-contained. So we'll add another 11, so we'll have 17 self-contained units to support children that get behind in because of the low immunity, and we can look after them. And also the situation we have with COVID meant that units that were self-contained, you could use all of them, whereas with the other hotel rooms we only can use every second one, and there was all sorts of stuff around with that. But for families staying a long period of time, we realised that we'll spend a bit more money, we'll make them all self-contained units. Probably we can't have as many units as we had if they were hotel units, but it means we can cope with a lot more situation, particularly if we have another pandemic or something strange like that happens, which I hope we never see ever again. But yeah, so those units would be self-contained. So there's no units with hallway.
So what happens when you're building the new rooms at Newcastle? Where are you getting the land from?
The land.
The land.
We've got a leased space at the John Hunter that's like a triangle that goes up the hill through the bush.
From where you currently are.
From where we currently are, it continues up. So we can build on that, we can build into that space. Our biggest issue though is bushfire protection zones and and, yeah,
So what's the other choice?
it's
Up?
steep, it's like this.
Yeah, it's
Is
cost-
the other choice just up on top of the other one?
Well, you can't unless you've got foundations that can support going up, so we don't have foundations to support going up.
Yeah. So in other words, you've got to go out.
So we're going out. It'll probably be the last build that we're able to do. We actually double storying that, and we're building it so you could actually add a third story.
Right.
Yeah, we've got the land, but we've got to get the approvals to take away some of the bush that's there, and also to manage the fire protection zone area. The building's got to be able to be capable of handling that as well. So there's a lot of, if we were building it in a normal, normal block, we wouldn't have to go through all this stuff, but we've been, for the last 12, 18 months, we've been working through the fire protection zones and the habitats and all that sort of stuff. And with the road going through from Rankin Park down the back to Jesmond, that's already removed some of the stack of bush. So that's,
Accidentally knocked a bit more down.
well, it could have been handy, but yeah, no, we were on the other side, so we're about to go to pre-DA for that, and then hopefully by the end of this year you'll see something starting to happen. We've got some really incredible supporters that are not over the line yet, but very close to getting over the line to get halfway there. So we're really excited.
So where does the $8 million come from?
From the community, pretty much. We've got a $2 million ask into the government. That may or may not work. We've got a $1 million ask into the RMHC Australia for a grant. We've got some money aside, but the pandemic restructured, changed the building opportunities for Ronald McDonald houses across the world, in that you're supposed to have 80% of your funds before you can break ground, and you can't, and you need to have a year's worth of funds in the bank to operate, because the pandemic put lots of people under pressure. We can go backwards just like any other business. We might do good things, but it doesn't mean you're safe, So those rules have been put in place globally, so to protect charities. But we're close to meeting all that criteria, and if we can get this support, then there'll be some other major people will come on board on the back of these others. So it seemed like an impossible dream 3 or 4 years ago, and it was scary to actually think about it. But we decided to go all systems go, design and everything, so we're excited about it. We're turning away a lot I'll show you in a minute, we're turning away quite a lot of families every day.
So room sponsorship, sorry. Room sponsorship, I mean, with the change in the type of room, and I mean, that's obviously the upkeep of that's going to be a little bit more expensive anyway.
Yes.
So the room sponsorship, that'll increase.
It will increase, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've kept your room sponsorship
No,
at
I
a
mean,
similar
we
sort
just-
of level, but it will go up, and it'll be more in the new area as well. And already is higher in the self-contained space, so yeah. But our money's coming from all over the place, not just the sponsorships. So we're
But, I mean, we need to know, just about, what's our target to, to sponsor that room in Ronald McDonald House, so we know that, this is our target, we need to target this amount of money at a minimum to help you.
Yeah. Let me make sure that Karen communicates with you about.
Because it's really important that we get that target.
Yeah. You've been incredible for so long. 1999, what is it, 25? So 26 years.
No, we were just, our cubby house, I think we're up to our 24th, and our first one was for the children's hospital.
Yeah.
And then the next, all the rest of them have actually gone to Ronald McDonald House. So we've missed a couple because of the pandemic.
Speaking of 99, I did send Ross a copy through.
You did.
But I bought a copy for the night.
You did, which is Pretty amazing, yeah. I think Gary, what's his last name? He was here, I think.
Gary?
Gary.
Bill Gary.
Bill Gary.
Oh, Bill
Bill
Gary.
Gary.
Yeah,
I
Gary.
had the Gary in my head and I couldn't
Yeah.
find it, you know,
Yes, he was.
because it's his last name, yeah.
Yeah, he was a,
Yeah, he was
him and
very,
his crew.
very motivated.
Yeah.
So is there any plans for the original 8 rooms to go back and so retrofit them to make them standalone? Is that a plan you're looking at?
No, but what we have done with those 8 rooms is in this last 12 months we've fitted, so what happened in the pandemic was we fitted them with microwaves, coffee tea facilities, a couple other things like that.
Yep.
And they sort of sat, and the fridge, and it all sort of sat on fridge.
Yeah.
So in this last 12 months, we've been slowly going through all those those original 12 units. Actually, there's 12 of those units that are all like hotel rooms. And we've been putting cabinetry in those so that the microwave and the fridge and everything's contained and neat and better used. So we've improved those services. There's a big kitchen, if you've someone's been there. A big kitchen, so the kitchen facilities are available pretty much. We do have a lot of families that do come in for 3 or 4 days and go after they've had their first stay.
That's why it was suited those people.
So you still have those rooms still get well used. The other ones are more for the cancer illnesses more than anything else.
Yeah, obviously the costings of updating those other load of rooms or whatever would just be negligible.
Yeah. But changing them, making them more self-contained would be a big job. You'd have to probably lose a few rooms to do it. So tell me what's your time frame?
Oh, I had it, I was just looking at the dates actually. Don't be worried about that.
Well, yeah, but when I'm done, you just say done,
No, you're good.
because I can yak on forever. But
Look,
I don't want to do that.
we'll just won't yak on later after you've finished.
Okay. So
This is interesting and I think this is good.
Yeah, it's a quick snapshot of our support for the people across this region. So 5,298 different families were supported across our programs last year. Ronald McDonald House looked after 612 different families, 6,667 nights across Tamworth and John Hunt. The family rooms, 4,339 different families and 20,400 visitors. So those families are coming and going. John Hunter in the J1 ward, which is the one that's not in the NICU. It's available for everyone to come to. Families generally come there about 4 visits each, across on average, but some families obviously there for months and months and coming every day. I've got a mum at the moment that actually sleeps every single day between like 11 and 1 in the room, so we've got a quiet room there where you can have a sleep. And there's a mum who comes in every day and has been doing that for about a month and a half. Because when you've got a child in hospital, you don't leave the side. So that family room sort of acts as a bit of a Ronald McDonald House in a way for those families. We've got 320 volunteers. There was a picture of them in the last shot. And the learning program looked after 120 students in the program and about 100 students through the Ed Liaison role in the hospital, or children through a bit of a snapshot across the area of where families come from. So, including the family rooms, about 43% of our families are actually Hunter, Newcastle, Lake Quarry based. So out of those 6,000 or so families supported, 43% are from our region. And then 11% from the mid-north coast, 14% from the Hunter, New England, 28% from Central Coast, and we get people coming from all over the country that end up at John Hunter, or in our situation. If this was Ronald McDonald Houses, it's about 40% come from New England Northwest, about 20% or so from the mid-north coast, about 15-20% from the Hunter region, so singles and onwards, and 10% or so from the Central Coast. So it's that sort of makeup.
So what determines your catchment area?
It's the John Hunter Children's Hospital, pretty much from the Central Coast through to about Grafton.
So whatever it sort of encompasses.
Yeah. If a family comes to John Hunter, then and they've travelled more than 100 k's, they stay at Ronald McDonald House. So well, that's the goal. Yeah, so after Grafton, families tend to go north to Brisbane rather than south. And that's usually just where the helicopter goes to, you know, so Lismore tends to go north. But if you go Mungandai, Moree, Brewarrina, come to John Hunter. South and west of Brewarrina tend to go to Sydney. Dubbo, Sydney, rather than John Hunter's route. Central Coast split both ways, just depends on. We do everything at John Hunter other than heart surgery for kids and bone marrow transplants. So at a point at John Hunter, they often have to leave, go to Sydney for a bone marrow transplant, and then come back to Newcastle once they've had that. And then the ongoing treatment can happen here, but specialist bone marrow transplants. And the burns unit at Westmead is particularly incredible. So children will often go straight there. It also depends on space. So our NICU gets lots of families that might go to Sydney but end up in John Hunter because that NICU's got 46 beds and a lot of space, but a lot of ability in the neonatal intensive care. That's strategic plan, it doesn't matter. We've got goals to serve more families. The important thing about that, I think, is that it's not just about providing something that's adequate. We want to make it a good place when they come. So when they come to the Ronald McDonald House, they feel valued. Because if we can make a family feel good about their situation, they've got a lot more ability to handle what's going on with their child, and they can make better decisions, and they can be better informed with the doctors as well. So this family, Avi, she was here 281 days, and then she got to go home to Muswellbrook. Scone, thank you. What she said was, this house is the lifeline for families like mine who live in remote communities. You're experiencing the worst time of your life, scared to death walking out of the hospital. To know we could be a family together at Ronald McDonald House meant the world for us. And I said, Nikki, now I did the cycling this year, so we're riding Grafton to Newcastle this year. But a couple of years ago we rode Inverell to Newcastle through Armidale. And when we got to Scone, Nikki had organised a fundraiser. Well, they were actually in hospital, so Avi was in hospital, and Nikki was in hospital, was at the hospital as well. But they were having a fundraiser at her school, and and she'd asked us to go to her school. So that night, Avi took a bad turn, and Nikki had done a lot of the organising, and even so, she came to the Scone school to meet us when we rode out of the Scone school, to make sure that things went really well, to make sure everyone knew about Ronald McDonald House and was on board with it. And they raised about $3,500 at the school that day, which is pretty incredible for public school, for any school. And then when she got to go home, on the ride for sick kids, we had used her story as part of the story, and so we had little plaques in the McDonald's restaurants to say thank you for raising funds for Ronald McDonald House. And when she went home, they stopped in at the Muswellbrook McDonald's, and there was her picture on the thing saying thank you, because she was the one saying thank you. It was just something really special, and she was really chuffed about it. Like, she got a photo taken with her and that sort of thing. But for a family to be away for 281 days or nights, even just thinking about a few nights is hard. If your child's in hospital and you're there for a few nights, that's hard. So 280 nights is a long time. And that's not nothing like the longest time people stay there for. This is we've had a fair bit of research done on Ronald McDonald House, and we've found that $1 donated to Ronald McDonald House returns $3.60 into the community. That's not the support we're giving to the family per se by saving the money at the house and that sort of thing. That's the overall savings across. If the hospital needs to can free up a bed, they can put another child in the bed. They don't have to pay for the bed for the service of it, so that child stays at Ronald McDonald House. So if you were a local family and you were going through a cancer treatment, you'd be in the hospital for a couple of days, and you'd be home for a couple of days, and you'd be back in the hospital for a couple of days. With Ronald McDonald House there, it means that a distance family travelling 100 k's still has that same thing. They're at the house for a couple of days while the child's recovering and getting strong enough again, then they go back to the hospital for a couple of days and they do that. When you add that up, as well as parking, savings, numerous other bits and pieces, particularly with the learning program, keeping kids in school, giving them a better education, and that affects the future, it adds up to that sort of return for every dollar that's donated. So I think that we raise about $4 million a year to run those programs. That was returning a lot to the community. This is the number of families we're turning away, so 30 families, about 30 families a month and about 360 families a year, different families. And this is what might look like across 1 month. This is a month out of last year. So sometimes we've got 3 families turned away, sometimes we've got 12 families turned away. And it just goes like this all the time, and so we're balancing this all the time. Some of these families get in over here somewhere, some families don't get in, and that's why the 11 units will allow us to get close to hitting our peak, and they should reduce the peak anyway because the people will be at the house already. Our average is around about the 5 to 6 families every single day that we can't fit in, which are families just like 80s family. So, you know.
So where do they go?
Local hotels, friends if they've got someone nearby. There's some. We can't really afford to pay for people to go and stay in those things. That's costing them to do it.
So they don't get any financial help at all?
They get financial help through the IPTAS, which is Isolated Patients Travel Assistance, to support any families that travel distances to the main hospitals, or to any hospitals pretty much. So there's that, but that doesn't go, it goes halfway to what it might cost on a night basis. The advantage of the house is you've got all the other facilities plus food and everything else. So, but yeah, unfortunately, there's not much we can do. And if you think of the John Under, where's the nearest hotel? It's about 3.5 k's away down at West's. And so we have a bit of a deal with West's, and they'll do a reasonable deal for a family coming and staying. And they're pretty good with that. But then after that, it's like Jesmond, which is 4 k's away and not easily accessible. Charlestown, Cardiff, Mayfield. So it's funny, it's the hospital's there, but there's no real accommodation nearby.
Do you get much funding from IPTAS, or I know when my mum was in hospital with leukemia, she got devastating unit across the road, and that was mostly funded by the Leukemia Foundation.
Yeah.
So do you get?
We get the support that would come to them if they were, so the isolated patients does come to us. Yep. And that's about 600,000 a year. So that's good help. And that's basically just taking that funding to another spot. And sometimes insurance is covering things, but that's pretty rare.
Private health and stuff like that.
Yeah, it doesn't, I think the family, I don't know, but we don't seem to get a lot of that, but if it is available, then we can access that. But in the end, it pretty much comes back to Lions Clubs, Rotary Clubs, other organisations that are, interested in supporting, and also corporates have got on board over the years as well. And we've got a great base of people and that support our individuals on rides and things like that. So the balls. So yeah.
It's amazing how much money you make on those rides, though. I have to look.
Yeah.
Your ride, like $280,000.
Yes.
That's just a massive amount of money. It's 500 cakes. There's only 20 of you.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot of money for, you know.
It is. It's
It's an awesome job.
It's.
I don't suggest any of us do that.
Response to you, like this, aren't they?
That's right. Yeah. So each of the riders individually get sponsors, and then McDonald's sells helping bikes to customers, and so there's about 140 grand from McDonald's. It's not always a given that they're going to do that, but we try to nail that every year. And then the other 140 is from the riders and the other. There's some gyms that get involved and that sort of thing in the ride. But yes, it's
That's good. Like
great.
when I was reading about that, I went, oh my God, that's
yeah.
huge. That for, you know, a ride, 20 people. Yeah.
How much pain do you have to endure?
A lot.
More than some other people. I'm getting older. I started when I was like 43 and I'm 63, going 64 soon. And yeah, I keep forgetting that, and each year I think, just got to try and get more, Because it's hard to get.
Start earlier.
It's hard to train, I know. But then you've got to add on the age, the little bit older you are, and you sort of don't bounce back,
So it's obviously capped at the 20 odd, just logistics wise.
Yeah, 25, I think, or 27 is the sort of the max. If we go bigger, we have to have 2 pelotons because we ride together,
Yep.
and we ride on the road.
Yeah.
So it's a real big management.
That's scary enough.
It is. We have vehicles on the road and stuff supporting us, but yeah. New England Highway's not very nice.
No.
Not very nice.
No,
This is what we're going to build. So this is what exists: this green roof and the roof to here. And this section here is what we're going to build, plus this car park. Have you ever tried to park at John Hunter? You drive around there for hours and not get a park. It's just horrible. So we'll have 20 car park spaces. This drive will go around the bottom of the house and up, and then this will be 2-storied on this end. Some of you have been there, so this bottom section is lower than this top section. This top section ramps up. It'll ramp up again, and then those two will go across top of each other. So you could literally walk in the front door all the way down here to the end of here. You don't have to actually, in a wheelchair, you could push them all the way to there. And on this level, you're going on the same level all the way to here, but in the end, you've got 2 stories at the top of each other. And yeah, this is, there's all the designs behind this, but the problem is this bushland here and us being able to clear this space and then build this road across the chasm, and the ravine sort of runs down the side of the hill and all the rest of it. It's not going to be a simple thing.
Or cheap.
Or cheap. That's why it's going to cost $8 million, even with support from builders giving us almost cost price on the building.
Yeah.
We've got some guys engaged to the building side of it to say we'll build stage 1 of it. We're talking about a 2-stage build here. First stage being 3 units this way, and then the next stage being the other 8 on this side with some living areas and this outside building. Car park hopefully will build with stage 1. So stage 1's $2 million plus or so. We'll see how that.
Without any hiccups.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Let's not. We're calling it building a bigger heart. So stage 1 and stage 2. There's not much more here. This is just definitely we're all stronger together. So your support, lots of support like yourselves, all added up together means we can support the families that we can. we need a few big king hitters to sort of get this extra piece built. And then the ongoing part of that will be back to the community to help that keep going. But a massive heartfelt thank you to you guys and your predecessors for being behind us all the way, because when people are sort of engaged and come back every year, it gives us strength and hope and possibilities, and we can see possibilities. So, and back in those early days, the support from the Lions Club up here helped me from like a 0 point to raising funds that we needed to run this place and to do all the things we've done since.
So can I just ask you, have you ever thought of approaching perhaps NBN to do another telethon?
That's sort of gone because NBN doesn't even have a space anymore.
Yeah, watches TV.
And it's a funny thing. It's sort of a. They did do a telethon for the Westmead Children's Hospital about 10 or so years ago. It's probably the last one that's been. Which, yeah, I mean, it's a good thought, but yeah, it's sort of a gone thing. Yeah, and there's no people on the ground anymore. There's no big room for everyone to come into and see the guys on the phone and all that stuff going on. It just doesn't happen like that anymore. So, digital marketing is a big thing these days.
Digital presence.
Yeah, digital presence. Yeah.
Do you actually, I saw in your latest newsletter, you said you were needing volunteers. Is that still the case? You're sort of short of volunteers now?
We're at Newcastle, at John Hunter, we're pretty good, but to keep your volunteer numbers at the level they need to be, you need to be sort of starting about 20 to 30 every year. So we've got about 210, 215 at John Hunter. We've got 50 or so at Tamworth, we've got 50 or so down at Gosford, we've got 20 at Foster. And so it's just an ongoing thing. A lot of people bring their friends along when they do it, but we still need, there's people that retire and they finish up and go on holidays, and, like yourself.
Like us.
I'm not retired.
No, I know.
But we're going on holidays.
But they're sort of, that's sort of, yeah, so we always need volunteers. Usually it's specific things like weekends, Friday night. There's a few different particular times that are hard to sort of manage, but that 220, 230 volunteers for us in Newcastle is about what we need. And we've got like 210, but it goes down as quick as it comes up.
Yeah.
But now it's a constant recruitment.
Yeah.
But and volunteer recruitment these days is like hiring staff.
Yes.
So you can't take any risks. You definitely, we have proper training, and you finish an orientation, and then you do buddy shifts, and then you're on a roster, and there's lots of it's very, but the volunteers love what they get out of it. Yeah. How well done. I award you the tears. Thank you for having me. Really, really appreciate you having me, and like I said,
Hang on, Cappy, not
you've
yet.
been with us the whole time, so, that's something really significant. And so you're part of everything that's happened, from the start of 8 rooms through to 2 houses, 3 family rooms.
Well, we haven't, although we've done this. We've got this cute little thing we've got now that's like,
Yes.
to show.
Do a couple more. One more.
Fantastic, thank you.
We've got this, look, this has been, Ronald, as from way back, the Children's Hospital and then Ronald McDonald House has been, a passion of this club for a long, long time, and I can't see that changing.
Yeah.
These guys are still passionate about, helping out, so, it's about keeping moving forward, those targets and what we need to do to help them. So, thank you for coming along.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. And for the, for we've got new people that don't know who you are,
Yeah.
don't really know who Ronald McDonald House is, so to show them, you know, who you are, I mean, you put so much of yourself into that. And then to see what they do is actually quite interesting. And it keeps us passionate about why we do, you know, why we've got our cubby house still going,
Yes.
even though we've sort of said yes, no. So, you know, we want to keep, you know, that's what.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming along.
Yeah,
So-
thank you.
So we don't keep you too long, I think we'll just do the raffle, so we can get you moving off,
Okay.
if you like, so you
Yeah.
don't have to stay and bore you with
Yeah.
our,
Something ridiculous.
I did.
Sell me a ticket and I'll,
No,
you
no.
can- if I win,
I
keep it.
shouted you a ticket. I did. Oh, oops.
That's great how that works. Hasn't that improved?
Oh, yeah.
Back in the other days, I never knew if that was going to work.
No.
Ever.
And, you know, we used to have lots of people come along and they give it on. It doesn't always work.
No,
Does it?
no.
It depends on the room we've got actually and how they've set it
Yeah.
up. All right, if you'd like to
Sure.
pick a ticket out of here for me,
Yep.
pick a name. Yeah. But it's so much easier with these new tables. Ken, what would you like? Ken, chocolates, red or white?
Right, Jordan,
Chocolates, Ken, red or white?
I'll come up and have a look.
Okay.
Pardon me while I run.
You right there?
Yeah.
I reckon Ken was back when Bill Gary was here,
Yep.
for
So
sure.
was Gary. Gary helped build that first one. Gary's helped build a number of those cubbies.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's that long since we've been down there to see those new
We can have some
self-contained
chocolates.
ones.
Yeah.
Or with some red or white.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. 2006 they opened and
All right, you pick one of those.
Sure.
Ross, there you go.
Hey.
no, someone else.
No.
No.
Ross doesn't need to take home.
Yeah, come on. Yes, you do. You have a nice red or a nice white. Come on.
I'm a red person, so.
There you go.
Can you raffle the game or something?
No.
Is there something?
It's our pleasure. Hey, Ross.
Put it in the region.
Yeah.
That's bad, I shouldn't take that.
Yeah, of course.
You like to declare it
That's
now,
what
won't
it's all
you?
about. And Jill. She likes
I'll
whites.
have the other one, thank you.
She like, I've got to give you little bags to put them in because you can't carry it out like that. Oh, it's all right. Oh, Ross has got a bag. You might be able to pop it in there.
Oh, yeah, I can stick it over there.
Hide it. You won't fit in Jill's bag. They don't give me the bag. They don't give me the. It's my wine club.
Curious there.
It's come from, what is it? Weights. Hey, I'm in a wine club that I get all the wine from. Yeah. Yes.
Good. Yeah, okay, good.
So thank you for that. You got anything else?
And just for those that don't, if you're some new people here, McDonald's doesn't own Ronald McDonald House, so McDonald's is a big supporter, and there's lots of, the reason that we have Ronald McDonald House is because McDonald's is involved. They raise it's about 16% of the money that we need comes through in grants, depending on the size of the chapter we run, so we're a chapter. So the rest of the money is raised through the community, so.
Is that why you had to name it Ronald McDonald?
Yeah, that's why it was called Ronald McDonald, because McDonald's bought the first Ronald McDonald House in Philadelphia.
Yep.
If I played you the story, the second slide, that was Audrey Evans was the original oncology manager of the hospital where the first Ronald McDonald House ended up being bought or built. And she said, hey, we really need one of these, a place for families to live near a hospital. So the footy team, the Philadelphia Eagles, who won this year's, whatever it's called, NFL, same team, they raised money and McDonald's raised money at the same time, and they bought a place for families to live nearby. And from then, it just rolled everywhere until whenever gets in control of this, so McDonald's set up a charity called McDonald House Charities that said that, well, if you're going to put a house up, it needs to be like this. It needs to be this sort of quality, this sort of standard. So yeah, so that's just a bit of background stuff.
Thank you for sharing that with us, and thank
No worries.
you for coming along.
Thank you.
All right, peeps.
So we've got a charade.